this IG report shows the FBI is broken, irredeemably corrupted. Same goes for the Justice Department. First up is the issuance of a report by the Inspector General of the United States that confirms, as I've noted online, essentially, let's go to the tweet that I mentioned there. Let's get it cut to the heart of it. They had 26 confidential human sources on the grounds of the Capitol on January 6th. And as I note, the FBI had a platoon of operatives on the Capitol on January 6th. And as Julie Kelly, our friend, notes, the IG claimed 26 FBI informants were in D.C. on January 6th. And so this report was issued this week. It's long been delayed. And the report mostly focuses on the FBI's use of confidential human sources, to failure to, despite telling Congress otherwise, to ask about intelligence concerning January 6th from its various field offices. But what caught everyone's attention is, and what I think is really a dishonest report in some respects, the admission that there were confidential human sources on the Capitol grounds on January 6th, including several who entered the U.S. Capitol, which, according to the Biden Justice Department, is the equivalent of committing a terrorist act. And it's sufficient to warrant unprecedented types of criminal prosecutions at the federal level, none of which occurred towards these confidential human sources. And the report details that in the following section. Well, let me see what the press release says about it. Oh, this is the kicker. No undercover FBI employees at protests or at the Capitol on January 6th, as if that was the only concern. I mean, what the left is saying is that because the IG found no FBI employees, all the so-called conspiracy theories about January 6th is wrong. Of course, they delineate the so-called or narrow the so-called conspiracy theory to just one issue at all, one issue only, while ignoring the broader issue, which is that the report confirms that there were paid operatives of the FBI on the grounds of the Capitol, monitoring American citizens in their exercise of First Amendment rights, and also present at what the Justice Department and the political left media complex here in Washington, D.C. has told us was the worst day and worst attack on democracy in American history. And yet the IG focuses on, well, they weren't FBI employees. Well, they were paid operatives of the FBI. It's like the FBI saying, well, it wasn't the FBI that wrote the Steele report. We just paid Chris Steele to write the Steele report targeting Trump. We found no evidence in the materials we reviewed or the testimony we received showing or suggesting the FBI had undercover employees in the various protest crowds. Well, isn't that nice? Well, what about the confidential human sources? Yes. The report also details our findings regarding FBI confidential human sources who were in D.C. on January 6th. Again, written in a way to exonerate the FBI as opposed to hold it accountable. The review determined that none of these FBI CHSs, confidential human sources, were authorized by the FBI to enter the Capitol or restricted area or otherwise break the law on January 6th. Well, they're still responsible if they did that under their theory of the law. Why? Why weren't they prosecuted? Certainly the ones who entered the Capitol. Nor was any CHS directed by the FBI to encourage others to commit illegal acts on January 6th. Okay. Does that answer the question whether confidential human sources paid by the FBI encourage others to commit crimes? No. Does it confirm or give us details as to whether the confidential human sources themselves committed crimes? No. So as far as I'm concerned, it's garbage. Thankfully, that was just a press release. I've got the full report here. I'll throw that out later. Page 77 of the IG report, findings regarding FBI confidential human sources who were in D.C. on January 6th, including 3 that had been tasked to report on predicated subjects believed to be attending the rally. So some were tasked to follow people into D.C., again, who were exercising their First Amendment protected rights. Our investigation determined there were a total of 26 FBI confidential human sources from a wide range of FBI field offices in D.C. on January 6 in connection with the events on January 6. Our review found that no FBI confidential human source was authorized to enter the Capitol or a restricted area or to otherwise break the law on January 6. Nor was any confidential human source directed by the FBI to encourage others to commit illegal acts on January 6. Of the 26 who were in D.C. for the events, the records we reviewed show that 4 confidential human sources entered the Capitol on January 6, 13 entered the restricted area, and 9 attended January 6 events but did not enter the Capitol or restricted area or otherwise engage in illegal activity. So that doesn't answer the question about whether the 13 plus 4 to 17 engaged in illegal activity. As noted previously, none of the confidential human sources that entered the Capitol or restricted area on January 6th have been prosecuted to date. Okay, footnote number 97. So look at footnote number 97. We can draw that up on the screen here. Footnote 97. After reviewing a draft of this report, the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, which is run by a Biden appointee, U.S. Attorney Graves, stated in its response to the OIG, the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office generally has not charged those individuals whose only crime on January 6, 2021 was to enter the restricted grounds surrounding the Capitol, which has resulted in the office declining to charge hundreds of individuals, and we have treated the confidential human sources consistent with this approach. Okay, the scope of this review did not include prosecution decisions, including as to the FBI confidential human sources made by the D.C. USAO after the riot on January 6, 2021. So again, the IG has not investigated what many people believe the abuse of power by the Biden gang to prosecute in a selective way U.S. citizens versus FBI confidential human sources. What does the footnote not say? It references has not charged whose only crime was to enter the restricted grounds. What about the confidential human sources and the Americans who entered the U.S. Capitol who've been charged? Why weren't the confidential human sources charged there? So here we have a dishonest, disingenuous response, at least as presented by the Office of Inspector General in the report, where they avoid the key issue as to why there was selective prosecution of American citizens who entered the U.S. Capitol, but not of FBI-employed confidential human sources. In our experience, if you're a confidential human source for the FBI, it means they're paying you money. These folks are making a living, in part, working for the FBI by providing them information. So what this means to me, all of this, that the IG is a waste, so let's get rid of that. And as I've noted previously with IG reports, they're both exposés and cover-ups at the same time. So here you have the modified limited hangout, the Nixon phrase, right, of the detail that there were at least 24, a platoon of FBI operatives on the U.S. Capitol grounds on January 6, 4 of which entered the U.S. Capitol, according to the Justice Department, which would have been necessarily a crime. They weren't prosecuted. Many other Americans were. But a cover-up at the same time. So the IG report is both an expose, which is the problem with most IGs in my experience. The IG report is both an expose and a cover-up at the same time. So it exposes FBI misconduct and special treatment by, or disparate treatment between, American citizens who are Trump supporters and FBI operatives who are paid by the FBI, and withholding an analysis of that and details about what these confidential human sources actually did and who they were targeting and why on January 6th. And details about whether they actually committed crimes. Did they induce anyone to commit a crime? Encourage? We don't know that. And why didn't the IG figure that out? Because, in my experience, and it's now your experience because you can go read this IG report, which I just threw on the floor. It's a cover-up. And it's just a further reason for President Trump to, in my view, pardon, commute the sentence of every single January 6th defendant the minute he gets into office. I mean, look at what Biden did. I did a tweet on this the other day. Look at what Biden did. He's pardoning 38 people with non-violent crimes who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation. And I'm commuting the sentences of nearly 1,500 others, many of whom would have received lower sentences today. Well, that's disingenuous. So 1,500 people had their sentences commuted on one day, which the White House is boasting to be the biggest number ever in the modern history of the presidency. And in my view, as I point out in that tweet, I'm looking forward to President Trump pardoning the January 6ers. You know, Biden is playing the pardon game. He illicitly, in my view, pardoned his son, I think in a constitutionally suspect way. And now every corrupt politician in town is lining up for preemptive pardons by Joe Biden, and he's considering them. The execrable Bill Clinton, one of the most corrupt presidents to sit in office, he was on TV earlier this week promoting a pardon for his wife, his co-conspirator in shakedown operations of foreign governments and agents and actors and companies. Talk about RICO. Might as well be asking for a preemptive pardon for himself. And we're supposed to be horrified that President Trump is thinking of January 6 pardons, and he's not backing down. I think we have video of him talking to an NBC Democrat activist, so-called journalist, the other day.
I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual cases, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Issue these pardons.
These people have been there. How long is it? 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
You know, by the way, they've been in there for years, and they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
So I tell you, if you agree with President Trump, who ran on providing pardons to the January 6ers, comment one way or the other below. I encourage you to spread the word about this issue. The pardons of Trump are, the planned pardons by Trump of the January 6ers are even more justified as a result of this DOJ report and everything else that we know has been going on in this town. So the IG has confirmed that 26 FBI operatives, paid operatives, confidential human sources, were up on Capitol Hill on January 6th. And I tell you, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi need to figure out what went on, or any other lawyer appointed by the president. Because I tend to think that even if it's run by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, who are both great individuals, who I know, institutionally, I don't know if they can even get it done institutionally to look at their own agencies. I mean, Kash may have an easier time than Pam will because, you know, the FBI is a little bit more structured, and you know, he may be able to move it more quickly because they're a bit more organized and hierarchical. But the Justice Department, it's massive, so Pam may have a more difficult time. And again, you're asking the institutions in both cases to investigate themselves, and I don't know if that's going to work. So if I were Trump, I'd be appointing outside counsel, outside prosecutors to look at this. You need outsiders to investigate the insiders at the Justice Department and the FBI, certainly on the handling of January 6th. Now remember, they were trying to prosecute Trump on trumped-up charges that now have only been resolved because Trump's becoming president. If he hadn't been elected president, confidential human sources who violated the law for the FBI, while working for the FBI, it looks like, would remain unprosecuted, and they'd be trying to throw Trump in jail on so-called January 6 charges. I mean, that's how outrageous this is. So as far as I'm concerned, this IG report and these disclosures haven't gotten enough attention. Now, Judicial Watch is continuing to ask questions and has much litigation about what went on January 6th. But this IG report shows the FBI is broken, irredeemably corrupted. Same goes for the Justice Department. And that the January 6 investigations and prosecutions are hopelessly compromised by retaliatory politics and corruption. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.